If you're a UK-based cruise passenger who normally flies to start your holiday, MSC Cruises is about to give you another option, because in 2027, MSC Meraviglia is coming to Southampton for an entire summer season. And this isn't just another ship being added to the schedule. MSC Meraviglia is set to replace MSC Virtuosa on Southampton sailings, offering cruises ranging from short 6-night escapes to much longer 14-night adventures. And the destinations are surprisingly varied, from the Norwegian Fjords in Northern Europe to Spain, Portugal, the Canary Islands, and even Morocco. So what exactly should you know about MSC Meraviglia before you consider booking? What is the ship like? How different is it from MSC Virtuosa? What itineraries can you expect? And most importantly, is Meraviglia actually a good choice for a no-fly cruise from Southampton? Let's take a closer look. The biggest thing to understand is that MSC Meraviglia isn't just making a quick visit to Southampton. MSC has planned an entire summer deployment from the UK. For 2027, the ship is scheduled to sail from Southampton from late May through October, with a program of cruises covering Northern Europe, the Norwegian Fjords, France, Spain, Portugal, the Canary Islands, and Morocco. That means UK passengers can get on a major MSC ship without having to fly to Barcelona, Rome, or another European embarkation port. And that is a pretty important selling point. The idea is simple. Get yourself to Southampton, board the ship, unpack once, and your holiday begins. No airport security, no waiting for a flight, no baggage carousel, no airport transfer at the other end, and no need to fly home after the cruise. For people who don't particularly enjoy flying, families traveling with children, or older passengers who simply prefer a more straightforward journey, that's a major advantage. And it's exactly the kind of no-fly cruising that MSC's UK program is designed around. But what is MSC Meraviglia actually like? If you've never been on board, the name might not tell you much. MSC Meraviglia is a large MSC ship built around the idea of having a lot happening in one place. One of its most recognizable features is the Galleria Meraviglia, the central indoor promenade running through the ship. This is one of the areas that immediately gives the ship that floating resort feeling. You've got restaurants, bars, shops, cafes, and entertainment spaces surrounding the promenade, while the LED ceiling overhead creates a constantly changing visual backdrop. And if you're interested in the Meraviglia family of ships, there's actually more to explore here than just the original Meraviglia. MSC has expanded the Meraviglia platform into several different ships, each with its own features, venues, and personality. So if you're trying to figure out how Meraviglia fits into the wider MSC fleet, and which of the 5 Meraviglia ships actually comes out on top, we've already compared all 5 in another video. We compared all 5 MSC Meraviglia ships. Here's the winner. It's worth checking out if you're considering a Meraviglia-class cruise, because the differences can be more interesting than you might expect. But back to the ship itself. Meraviglia gives you plenty to do on board, from relaxing in a cafe or bar to enjoying specialty dining, live entertainment, and evening shows. You can spend the day by the pool, explore the ship, join one of the activities, or simply head back to your cabin and order room service. And that's an important point about a ship like Meraviglia. You don't have to participate in everything just because it's there. You can make the experience as busy or as relaxed as you want. Now let's get to the really interesting part. Where can Meraviglia actually take you? Because this is where the Southampton deployment becomes much more than a simple UK cruise. For 2027, the program includes cruises of different lengths, with current listings showing everything from 6-night voyages to 14-night itineraries. And there are several very different styles of cruise. If you only have a week, there are itineraries around Spain and France. One example visits places such as Gijón, La Rochelle, Bilbao, and Cherbourg. That gives you a mixture of Spanish coastal scenery, French culture, and Northern European history, all from one Southampton departure. Then you have the Norwegian-focused itineraries, and this is where the scenery becomes the main event. Think fjords, mountains, waterfalls, and dramatic coastal landscapes. For someone who wants a classic scenic cruise without flying to Scandinavia first, this could be one of the most appealing options. And then things get even more ambitious. If 7 nights isn't enough, Meraviglia's Southampton program also includes longer voyages. One of the headline options is a 14-night itinerary departing on July 24, 2027. This cruise combines destinations around Spain and Morocco, giving passengers much more variety than a traditional one-week European cruise. You can also find longer itineraries heading toward Madeira and the Canary Islands. For example, the August 2027 itinerary includes Vigo, Funchal in Madeira, Gran Canaria, Tenerife, Lanzarote, and Lisbon before returning to Southampton. And this is where Meraviglia becomes particularly interesting. You aren't just choosing between Spain cruise and Norway cruise. You can choose based on the kind of holiday you actually want. Want scenery? Go north. Want sunshine? Head toward the Canaries. Want culture and cities? Look at Spain, Portugal, and France. Want something longer and more exotic? There are itineraries that add Morocco to the mix. One mistake people make when choosing a cruise is looking only at the itinerary. But remember, on a 7, 9, 12, or 14-night cruise, you're spending a significant amount of time on board. That's why the ship itself matters. And Meraviglia has plenty designed to keep passengers occupied during sea days. There's the Galleria. There are multiple restaurants and bars. There are theater shows and live entertainment. There are parties and themed nights. There's an arcade, bowling, and a flight simulator. There are pools and water-based attractions. And families have dedicated children's and teen activities. So if you're traveling with children, you aren't relying entirely on the ports to keep everyone entertained. The ship itself becomes part of the destination, and that's especially important on itineraries with several sea days. This is another area where Southampton makes a lot of sense. Imagine a large family group trying to organize a holiday overseas. Flights have to be coordinated, transfers have to be arranged, hotels have to be booked, everyone has to get to the airport, then everyone has to get back again. A Southampton cruise removes much of that logistical headache. Everyone simply has to get to Southampton. Once you're on board, accommodation, dining, entertainment, and transportation between destinations are bundled into the cruise experience. And because everyone is staying on the same ship, there's less pressure to organize every hour of every day. Some people can go on excursions, others can stay on board. Some can spend the afternoon by the pool, someone else can explore the port, and everyone comes back to the same ship. That flexibility is one of cruising's biggest advantages. What about the cost? This is where the value proposition becomes particularly interesting. When comparing a cruise with a traditional land holiday, you shouldn't look at the cruise fare in isolation. You have to consider the entire holiday. On a cruise, your fare can include your accommodation, many meals, entertainment, onboard activities, and transportation between multiple destinations. Depending on the booking, gratuities can also be included. Current 2027 listings show examples such as a 7-night Spain and France sailing from around £696 per person for an inside cabin, while a 14-night Spain and Morocco sailing is listed from around £1,597 per person. Prices can change significantly depending on the sailing date, cabin category, and booking conditions. That doesn't automatically mean a cruise is cheaper than every land holiday, but it does mean you need to compare the complete holiday cost rather than simply comparing a cruise fare with the price of a hotel room. And that's one of the strongest arguments for no-fly cruising. There's another cost that passengers need to consider: drinks. MSC offers several drinks package options, and the price can vary depending on the package, sailing, and when you purchase it. The important question isn't whether everyone should buy one, it's whether it actually makes sense for you. If you drink very little, paying for a drinks package may not be worthwhile. But if you're regularly having wine with dinner, cocktails, beer, or spirits, the numbers can look very different. And this is one area where it's worth doing the math before you sail. Look at what you normally drink during a typical cruise day, compare that with the package price, and then decide whether you're likely to get enough value from it. We've actually gone much deeper into this in another video, 2026 MSC drink package prices revealed. Is it still worth it? So if you're considering Meraviglia and you're unsure whether you should add a drinks package, that video will give you a much more detailed breakdown before you make the decision. Because the cheapest cruise fare isn't necessarily the cheapest overall holiday once you start adding extras. Here's something that makes this Southampton deployment even more significant. MSC Meraviglia isn't scheduled to disappear after one summer. MSC has also announced a 2028 Southampton program. The 2028 season includes 21 cruises, again covering destinations such as the Norwegian Fjords, Northern Europe, France, Spain, Portugal, the Canary Islands, and Morocco. The 2028 program includes 7, 9, 12, and 14-night options, and there is even a special 7-night sailing in June 2028 designed around the European Football Championship, visiting Cherbourg, Cork, Liverpool, Belfast, and Greenock, with games streamed on board. So MSC clearly isn't treating Southampton as a temporary experiment. The company appears to be positioning Meraviglia as a significant part of its UK summer strategy. So, who should consider MSC Meraviglia? If you're a first-time cruiser, Meraviglia could make sense because Southampton removes the complication of flying. If you're a regular MSC passenger, it offers a new ship to try without changing the basic style of cruising you already know. If you're traveling with children, the range of onboard entertainment and activities could be a major advantage. And if you're someone who doesn't want to spend your holiday sitting on a beach for 7 days, the variety of itineraries gives you another option. But there is also something else to consider. You shouldn't book Meraviglia simply because it's the newest or biggest option available from Southampton. The right itinerary matters. If you hate sea days, don't choose a longer itinerary just because it visits more countries. If you love scenery, the Norwegian Fjords might be a better choice. If you're chasing sunshine, look south toward Madeira and the Canary Islands. And if you want the biggest variety of cultures and destinations, a longer Spain and Morocco itinerary could be much more interesting. MSC Meraviglia's arrival in Southampton is significant because it gives UK cruisers something that is increasingly attractive: a major international cruise without the flight. You can leave from Southampton, unpack once, and wake up somewhere completely different. One day you're in Spain, another day you're exploring France. On another itinerary, you're surrounded by Norwegian fjords. Or you could head toward Madeira and the Canary Islands for warmer weather. And when you're finished, the ship brings you all the way back to Southampton. That's the real appeal of Meraviglia's Southampton deployment. It's not just about the ship, it's about the combination of convenience, variety, and choice. And with MSC also planning a Southampton season for 2028, this looks like more than a one-off visit. It's a significant opportunity for UK cruisers who want to experience MSC without having to fly to their embarkation port. So if you've been thinking about trying MSC but didn't want the hassle of flying to your cruise, 2027 could be the year to take a closer look at Meraviglia. And if you're still deciding whether MSC is actually the right cruise line for your next vacation, that's a much bigger question. Because MSC isn't the only major cruise line competing for your money. Royal Caribbean offers a completely different approach to cruising, from its ships and entertainment to dining, activities, and overall onboard experience. So which cruise line should you actually choose in 2026? MSC Cruises or Royal Caribbean? That's exactly what we're going to compare in our next video. MSC Cruises versus Royal Caribbean. Which cruise line should you choose in 2026? If you're deciding between these two cruise lines, you won't want to miss that comparison. Happy cruising!